Let me tell you something. There are moments in professional wrestling that you remember forever. Moments that stop you mid-bite of your chips, make you put your phone down, and just stare at your screen. Tonight was one of those moments. And if you weren't watching Raw Live last night, oh, you are in for something special, because what happened between Gunther and Dragon Lee? That wasn't just a wrestling match. That was a statement. That was a war. And by the end of it, only one man was left standing, and trust me, you need to see exactly how it all went down. So sit back, get comfortable, and let's break down one of the most brutal, most electric matches Raw has seen in a long time, because this one changed everything. Alright, so let's set the scene first, because context is everything in professional wrestling. You can't truly appreciate the destruction that happened last night without understanding exactly what was at stake and exactly who these two men are. Gunther, and if you haven't been paying attention to this man over the past couple of years, where have you been? Gunther is arguably the most dominant force in WWE right now. This is a man who carries himself like an absolute predator every single time he steps through that curtain. He doesn't waste words. He doesn't play games. He walks to that ring with a coldness, a precision, and a confidence that makes everyone in that locker room take notice. When Gunther locks eyes with you, you feel it. You feel the weight of everything he represents. He is a champion in every sense of the word, and he has made it abundantly clear that he is not here to be challenged. He is here to remind everyone exactly why he is the standard. Now, on the other side of this equation, you have Dragon Lee. And listen, Dragon Lee is no ordinary opponent. This is a man who has torn through rosters all over the world. He has competed at the highest levels in Mexico, in Japan, and now in WWE, and every single time he steps into a ring, he brings an intensity, a fire, and a speed that very few human beings on this planet can match. Dragon Lee moves like water. He is fast, he is explosive, and when he locks in, he is absolutely relentless. So when these two names were announced for Raw, the wrestling world collectively leaned forward, because everyone knew that this was not going to be a casual match. This was going to be a collision. And the build-up? Oh, the build-up was perfect. In the weeks leading up to this match, there was this quiet, simmering tension. Gunther had been making his presence felt, casting that shadow over the entire Raw roster, and Dragon Lee had been making noise of his own, putting people on notice, showing everyone that he was not afraid of anyone. And then it happened. They were in the same space. Eyes met. Words were exchanged, and Gunther, in that signature calm, that ice-cold delivery, essentially told Dragon Lee that he was simply not on his level. And what did Dragon Lee do? He smiled. He smiled that confident smile and told Gunther that he was about to find out just how wrong he was. That exchange, that moment, that was the spark. That was the moment this match became inevitable. So now, Raw goes live. The arena is electric. You could feel it even through the screen. The crowd knew what was coming. And when that music hit, when Gunther's entrance music filled that arena, the temperature in the room dropped. That's what this man does. He commands attention just by showing up. He walked down that ramp with purpose, every step deliberate, every glance calculated. And the crowd? Split. Some of them were booing, some of them were respectfully acknowledging greatness, because that's the thing about Gunther, even the people who don't want to cheer for him can't deny what he is. And then Dragon Lee's music hit, and the energy completely shifted. The crowd erupted. This man came out with fire in his eyes, bouncing, alive, electric. The contrast was stunning. Cold power versus raw, burning intensity. Two completely different energies colliding in the same ring. And as they stood across from each other, as the referee stepped in, as the bell rang, that moment right before the bell, where both men just stare each other down, that was cinematic. That was movie-level stuff. And then it began. The early exchanges were sharp, tight. Both men feeling each other out, testing the waters, seeing what they were working with. Dragon Lee started fast, because that's his style. He doesn't let you breathe. He was moving, darting, throwing combinations, trying to use his speed advantage to keep Gunther off balance. And for a few moments, it worked. Dragon Lee had that energy, that momentum, and the crowd was feeding off of it, cheering him on, believing in him. But here's the thing about Gunther. This man does not get flustered. You can throw everything you have at him, and he will absorb it, study it, and then respond in the coldest, most calculated way possible. And that's exactly what happened. Gunther started to slow things down. He used his size, his strength, his experience. He grabbed Dragon Lee and started to ground him, physically wear him down, take away the very thing that makes Dragon Lee dangerous, his speed. and the crowd started to feel it. You could see the shift. The hope started to fade just a little bit, because Gunther was doing what Gunther does. He was suffocating his opponent. There was this one moment, and I need you to picture this, where Gunther had Dragon Lee locked up, just completely controlling him, and Dragon Lee is fighting to break free, and the camera cuts to a close-up of his face, and you can see the fire still burning in his eyes even through the pain. That moment told you everything you needed to know about Dragon Lee as a competitor. This man was not going to quit. Not tonight. And that's when things started to escalate. Dragon Lee found an opening. A small one. But in wrestling, a small opening is all you need if you're fast enough to take advantage of it, and Dragon Lee? He is exactly that fast. He exploded out of Gunther's control, hit a sequence of moves that had the crowd on their feet, and suddenly the entire energy in that arena flipped. The crowd was screaming. Dragon Lee was fired up. And for a brief, beautiful moment, it felt like maybe, just maybe, Dragon Lee was going to pull off something truly special. But Gunther is not just any opponent. Gunther is a force of nature in that ring. And every time Dragon Lee thought he had the momentum, every time he thought he was building towards something big, Gunther was there, shutting it down, responding with power moves that rattled the entire ring. And you could hear the crowd reacting, that collective intake of breath every time Gunther landed something devastating. The physicality of this match was on another level. These two men were genuinely hurting each other, and you could feel the intensity through the screen. The middle of this match was a masterclass in storytelling. Back and forth. Momentum swinging like a pendulum. Dragon Lee would get hot, the crowd would rise, and then Gunther would ground him again with something brutal. And then Dragon Lee would dig deep, find something inside himself, and fight back. It was a beautiful back and forth, and both men were giving everything they had. The crowd was completely invested. You had fans screaming for Dragon Lee, you had fans respecting Gunther, and everyone was on the edge of their seats because nobody knew how this was going to end. And then came the turning point. The real turning point. Gunther, with that cold, ruthless precision, executed a series of moves that showed exactly why he is considered one of the most technically gifted wrestlers alive today. He put together a sequence that was absolutely textbook powerful, controlled, and devastating. Each move built on the last, and Dragon Lee was taking an incredible amount of punishment. The crowd went quiet for a moment. Not silent, but that kind of hushed, shocked quiet where everyone is watching something unfold and they know they're witnessing something significant. Dragon Lee tried. He tried so hard. You have to give this man credit, because the heart he showed in this match was extraordinary. He kicked out of things he probably shouldn't have kicked out of. He kept getting up when most people would have stayed down. He was running on pure adrenaline and pure pride, and the crowd loved him for it. But Gunther was relentless. Gunther was a machine. And the gap between these two men, in terms of raw, physical dominance, became very, very clear as the match went on. The finish came, and when it came fast. Gunther hit his signature move with everything he had, and the impact, you could hear it. You could feel it. Dragon Lee's body hit that mat with a thud that echoed through that arena, and the referee was there immediately. 1, 2, 3. It was over. Gunther had won. And the way he won told you everything about who this man is. There was no celebration, no theatrics. He simply stood up, looked down at Dragon Lee, and walked away. Because that's Gunther. He doesn't need the moment. He doesn't need the applause. He already knows what he is. But let's take a second to appreciate Dragon Lee here, because his performance in this match deserves recognition. This man came into Raw and gave Gunther one of the toughest fights he has faced in a long time. Dragon Lee showed the entire WWE roster and the entire fanbase exactly what he is made of. He came in with nothing to lose and everything to prove, and he proved that he belongs. He proved that he is a